You know the background that he's got, the people that he's training with, all three are rolling, yeah? You know the background that Brad's got, the people that he's training with, you know, obviously over there at, is it Camden Valley Wrestling he trains at?
Yeah, Gracie Smeaton Grange.
Yeah, but they've got like a branch of Camden Wrestling.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he does like just wrestling and boxing.
Yeah.
Like individually, yeah.
And like you can tell in his fight plan, like he's just primarily a wrestler. That's always what he was
very conventional wrestler. Like,
yeah.
I heard he had over 200 wrestling matches.
Whoa.
So I had to really prepare for that. Like,
yeah.
So the camp was very hard, like 9 weeks of just repping different like wrestling techniques, and it was very hard.
Yeah. I mean, lucky you've got Ash over at Australian Top Team,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that seems to be his forte. Like those wrestling classes really seem to be.
The wrestling classes are where he tries to break you. Like,
yeah.
That's where the hard Shark Tank rounds are, and it really helped for me during the fight.
Yeah. Because it's in a 9-week fight camp. I mean, you're not necessarily learning new skills or trying to develop new aspects to your game. It's just refining what you already know.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really about conditioning.
Yeah.
So like, this was my first 5-minute fight, like round fight. So I know like from my first fight when I was 3 minutes, I gassed out like pretty hard after the first round. So this one I had to be just in tip-top shape. Otherwise, because obviously his style as well, his wrestling style really gasses you out. So I had to be in just supreme shape.
Yeah, and that wrestling cardio is different to any other type of cardio because it's that squeezing of the muscles. Yeah. It's like that isometric, like just motion.
You could get a marathon runner in the gym for Shark Tank rounds.
Yeah.
And he would probably gas out in wrestling. Like, it's just different cardio altogether.
Yeah. And how much of your camp and how much of your preparation was analyzing Brad's game? So we should probably introduce you and just kind of give people a bit of a breakdown. So about 2 weeks ago now, you went on to Urban Fight Night 31. You were the main event. You had a massive fight in Brad Fulmer. You not only won that fight, you retained your O, you defeated an undefeated fighter, and you went and became the UFN champion. I mean, sir.
That's good to hear.
Let's fucking talk about it. Jesse Swain.
So good.
Bro, honestly, I was there live that night. We spoke a little bit after the fight, and I can't tell you the amount of emotion that was in that fight and the amount of emotion that everyone was just feeling in the crowd is electric.
Yeah. It was like a movie, honestly. I was down. It's actually like a Rocky movie. I was down 2 rounds and came out in the third, and I had to get the finish, and I did, and it was an indescribable feeling and feeling of relief as well. Yeah.
Was there tension? Like, was there nervousness behind you? Like
during the fight?
Or even before the fight?
Before the fight? No, I never get nervous before fights. That's mainly because my nickname that Ash gave me, Psycho. I didn't give that to myself. Ash gave that to me because I'm just like not nervous before fights.
Really?
Like before my Percy fight, I was sleeping in the back like 2 fights before.
You sleep before your fights?
Like it's pretty insane how calm I get.
You just no nerves, nothing.
No nerves. It's really weird actually. Like I'm actually more calm before the fight than before sparring, like at ATT, 100%.
Well, I don't blame you. Sparring at ATT, that
actually prepares you for the fight. So,
Yeah, you survive a couple of rounds with Darwin, and you're like
Darwin, yeah. If I can do rounds with Darwin, Firehood, Togo, like a guy that's just going to come in and try to wrestle me, I'm not really nervous for that.
So for you, it was just you rock up to Whitlam Centre. It's another day in the office. You're kind of just calm. Like, are you stretching out behind the scenes?
Actually, I wanted to say this. Like, one of my favorite fighters is GSP.
Right.
And he said something on the Joe Rogan podcast where it was like the week of the fight, he'd go to like a supermarket and then see like just an old lady getting her shopping or something, and she wouldn't care. Like, she doesn't know about the fight. She doesn't care about the result.
Yeah.
And it'd be like ingrained in his mind that like pause that for a second. Yeah, he'd be like ingrained in his mind that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And I had the same thing driving to the Whitlam Leisure Centre. I saw someone, like an Asian guy driving a bus, and he doesn't care like if I win or lose the fight. So
Yeah.
that's like,
Yeah, it's almost like contextually this moment in time is massive for you because it's part of your narrative and it's part of your story. But if you just pull back a little bit on your perspective, you can see that like...
That's the word, perspective. Even I got it tattooed on my leg.
Oh, that's so cool. Let's see it.
It's in different forms, perspective.
Right.
So actually my mate got his first tattoo and I saw it on the wall and it just like stuck out to me.
Yeah.
And perspective is like a big thing that I go on, and then I just got it. So yeah.
I think that's such an advantage though, that ability, because I've always said that, well, not always, but I tend to believe that fighting is very much a game of being present. It's very much a game of just being able to control your emotions,
lower your heart rate, control your instincts, control your breathing, and just execute a game plan. Yeah.
And it's so easy with these waves of emotions for fighters, like getting hit really hard in the face and feeling that like blood boil and that anger kind of come through, and learning how to control that, or like the fear of getting, you know, a rear naked choke and being put in uncomfortable positions and you kind of feel helpless, and learning to navigate those like peaks and valleys that you get into a fight to the point where you just are able to say to yourself, hang on, wait, I've been here before. I know what I'm doing. I've just got to follow the steps. I've just got to follow the protocols, especially when you're going up against a wrestler, because wrestling is very much a system. It's very much one position to the next, to the next.
There's no use getting my heart rate high before a fight, up to 100, 120, and then have to go and wrestle someone for 5 minutes. And then obviously like you can gas out by doing that.
Yeah.
But so I'm just real calm before fights. And
well, yeah, I think it's that having that emotional control over your body and being able to be extremely present in the moment is what tends to make the best of fighters. It's hard to find a champion that's extremely emotional.
Yeah.
Even like Israel Adesanya in his recent fight against Alex Pereira, which you know was a big fight for him. You know, like he had this chip on his shoulder of the boogeyman that had beaten him 3 times previously and taken away his title and shot from everything. You see him in the actual fight and he looks cool, calm and composed.
Calm in between the storm.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. That's what makes the champions, GSP, John Jones. They're calm, but they're also violent. Like Ash said during like the week of the fight, you want to be like a tiger. You want to be, because when tigers hunt their prey, they're very silent. They actually lower their heart rate by 20 beats.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And then they're silent and then they attack. They're violent, but they're also calm.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like you got to be in a fight.
How much of your opponent's emotion are you able to register in a fight?
Not much. You know, it actually feels like a video game in there.
Yeah.
You can't really see the emotion, but you can, like, in mid-fight, I saw a bit of emotion, like when I was hitting Brad with body shots. I could see him squinting, but he had actually a very good poker face. Even Ash said that. Like the good fighters do. They have a good poker face when getting hit and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I feel like when the blood is moving that quickly and the adrenaline, like those hormones are just pumping through you when you're really in like a fight or flight kind of situation and you're on the edge of your seat, like full of anxiety. When you're in those states, you become very like acutely aware of your surroundings. Like it's almost like a camera. Like, you know how like with a camera you can kind of hone in and focus on one specific thing.
Competition is so different to sparring.
Yeah.
You know, like that's why a lot of people say competition experiences are just so much like wealth of like knowledge. And like competition, even grappling tournaments, like you can grapple in the gym, but you go to a grappling tournament and you just get that different edge, that different feeling. And it's just it all ways to like being more successful, having more competition.
Is that something like you specifically worked on, like that ability to remain calm and ability to like remain composed in those situations, or are you just naturally like that? Like how do you...
I think I'm a bit naturally like just calm, laid back dude, but I read a lot of Stoicism books.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe helped me as well, like Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
Like I even another tattoo I got Marcus Aurelius.
Oh yeah, you do. That's a dope fucking tattoo.
So yeah, Stoicism really helps with that. It's like don't get too high on the highs and low on the lows.
Yeah.
Just have a middle ground with your life. And that usually helps, especially with fighting, I guess.
But you got to enjoy those highs a little bit, right?
100%.
I mean, when you take the belt and you do it against like one of the best wrestlers in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Like especially
Very,
in the amateur scene.
No one wanted to fight Brad.
No.
And actually, as crazy as I am, I'd want to rematch him. Like most people in my situation, I was down 2 rounds, he was beating me, and I finished him. They would just take that and run.
Yeah, of course.
But like I filled a lot of holes in my game when I versed Brad in camp and in the fight, like holes in my just technique and everything. And I reckon another fight with him, I'd just improve me even more. Like because especially I'm like a unicorn of bantamweight, like 6 foot bantamweight. Everyone's going to try to wrestle me. So just getting experience with wrestlers like that is only going to help me going into the pros.
Yeah. And I like that attitude you have of like, I'm here in the amateurs. I want the best competition possible to make myself the best fighter.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed, covering this scene for the last 2 years, I've noticed that there tends to be a lot of talk. There tends to be a lot of call outs and people saying, I'm going to fight this guy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then when it actually comes to it, a lot of people fall through.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the nerve to actually back what they say because words are cheap, but actions speak volumes.
Yeah, 100%.
So I really appreciate that attitude you have, particularly in the amateurs, because it's like this is the training ground. This is where you're going to.
This is the apprenticeship, really.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, fuck, bro, a rematch with Brad, though, that would be so good.
Yeah, 100%. I reckon, I think Brad doesn't want it at the moment. I think he might want to fight someone else in the meantime, and so do I.
Which I can understand.
Yeah. So, and also, even one thing, so Urban Fight Night posted, who did you see that on this Instagram story? They posted, who should fight Jesse Swain next.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
And five fighters got tagged and none of them reposted on their story. So, I don't know. I'm going to be struggling to find a matchup next. So Brad was one of them as well. So I thought he might have reposted, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So that means
I can imagine for him taking that loss would have been a very emotional moment because he contextually for the people who haven't watched the fight yet, it was a 3-round fight. You were essentially down on 2 rounds. Brad was having a lot of success taking you down. You were very effective, I felt like, in creating distance, especially with your body kicks and your leg kicks, and you try and get their hands moving. But as soon as you got into range, Brad would just shoot.
I felt like I did well in defending the takedowns enough where he got tired, and then came to the 3rd round, he was shooting very tiredly.
Right.
So I feel like my wrestling was good, but he did get the takedowns and then the control in the first 2 rounds, but I made him work for it. So I
mean, you found yourself in a rear naked for a while, didn't you? You had to defend yourself.
And a dash choke.
A dash choke.
That was real tight. That was actually a turning point, I think, because he had me in the dash choke and I was flopping around. And he was gripping really tight, and I got out and got back to my feet, and I felt like a bit of a switch, and that was the end of the 2nd round as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And then came out for the 3rd, and it was just a different fight. He was kind of I don't want to say stalling, but he was just kind of trying to see out the fight a bit, and I was coming for the finish.
Yeah, because he probably felt like I'm 2 rounds up. If I can just get through this round, I'm sweet, I'll win on points.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but it's a logical assumption to make.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in that dash choke where you're like, oh shit, he's got me?
No, because honestly, this is my coaches are so good, Suman and Ash, especially Suman for the jiu-jitsu. He drilled this dash choke so many times because Brad fought Osama, my teammate. So, and we could see his movements on the ground, and he actually had Osama in a deep dash choke as well.
Right.
And we knew that's a move he goes to. So I was drilling that a lot during camp. As I said, we both had 9 weeks of this camp, so we had so much time to drill things that the other opponent does, and that's what made the fight so sweet. And we're both willing to go to sleep. I even said to Suman, I was willing to go to sleep during camp. So, and he was too, like we saw. Goes to sleep.
And, you know, I could have predicted 50 different outcomes to the fight. You know, knockout, submission, injury, you know, decision. Like, there's so many ways that fight could have gone, but not once did I predict that you were going to submit
No,
him.
I got really underrated jiu-jitsu. Honestly, people in ATT would know. Like, I don't do many comps. I'm just a blue belt, and he's a brown belt, I think, as well. So maybe I deserve my brown belt.
I think that there's one way to earn it.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I'm an underrated like jiu-jitsu player as well. Like off my back, even though I didn't show up maybe in the first 2 rounds. As soon as I got on top of him, I was looking like finishing him more than he was looking like finishing me on the ground.
Yeah. I feel like firstly, you've got a massive advantage in that, like, you're a lot longer, so you've got like more leverage points with your limbs.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't think people put enough weight on that in jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, I feel like correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the shortier, stockier bodies are more equipped for like wrestling, like takedowns,
wrestling,
and judo.
more control. Yeah. I got a lot of like different submissions that I use, like that for a lot of these opponents haven't seen yet, and I will pull it out. Yeah. So my jiu-jitsu is good. Yeah, I feel like I can hang that down there with these guys. They're going to try to take me down.
And I also wanted to give you credit on your defensive wrestling and your defensive jiu-jitsu. Like, there were multiple attempts for submissions or multiple attempts to win positions that you just didn't give up with ease at all. Like, you made Brad work for every single position that he got.
Yeah. I sprawled in his ass a lot in that 3rd round.
Yes. I think that was the game changer for you. I think once you started like fully utilizing that sprawl and fully not giving him the comfort zone and giving him the range to take you down and land singles or doubles, and you started really stopping it from there, the momentum shifted.
And I made him think about like uppercutting the knee up the middle. You can actually go back and watch. I landed some good uppercuts when he was shooting him in for takedowns, which made him a bit cautious. And that's why his takedowns were from like so far out in the 3rd round. And then I was able to like sprawl on him. So
how did you go from losing round 1 and round 2 to having a 1 minute break and then completely dominating round 3 and submitting one of the best wrestlers in Australia?
Yeah, it's down to my skill, but it's also down to my coach Ash. Like, honestly, he just put a rocket up my ass, like I said to you, like post fight. And I don't know what was said, because you don't really know what's said in the corner. But
you only need one shot, Jesse. Right, that's the difference between you and him. He's gonna get desperate for that shot. Oh, show the uppercut. Right, when you show the uppercut, come up with your head kick straight after it. Right, when you throw everything, I want you to throw it to his chest and to his stomach. I do not want you to throw any straight punch at all. It's either an uppercut or to the body or a jab to the chest. That's it. I don't know, head kick, right? And you're gonna get that tip. You're gonna get this tip. Believe in it and you get it. Believe in it. He's gonna get this. Stop one of the stuff.
Subconsciously you do it. But Ash, after the fight, told me that he said, what did he say again? He said, how much do you want it? And then I was like, I want it really bad. That's what he said to me. And then, I was like, I want it really bad. And then that was right before the 3rd round. And then I came out and just marched him down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there must be like a very specific relationship that you have with Ash, like for him to be in your corner and to know exactly what to say and how to say it to get that result out of you.
Yeah. Like, we have a really good bond, and he's just so important for me. And like, he always be in my corner. So yeah.
Yeah. Now talk to me about like that moment where you get the submission, the fight's over, and like it kind of you just realize what you've done. Talk me through that.
It's hard to talk through because it's like an indescribable feeling. Like, it was kind of a blur because the adrenaline would have been so high in my body. And then once I got into the cage and I was screaming, then the relief set in. That like the 9 weeks of just like hard work and hard dieting just all came to me getting the belt, and it was just all worth it. And another thing, like, one of my whys is why I fight is seeing everyone's like emotion, like euphoric emotion, and all my coaches, my family, my friends, how much they love it. And then like that made it all the worthwhile, honestly. That's why I fight, for my family, for my friends. And obviously because I love the fight as well, but yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, having that support there, like in the arena, and being able to show like the people that care about you the most, and like day ones, like we're talking about day ones here.
And all the ATT, all the family there, they were just going off. I see videos back, just like all the reactions. I'm looking at every person's reaction. It's so cool.
Yeah. Is it different for you to watch the fight like after the fact as opposed to living it in the moment? Like, how different is that experience?
Yeah, it's totally different. When I watch it back, I'm actually just looking like what things I did wrong, what things I did right. But during the moment, it's all just emotion. Yeah.
Did you have a moment like where you're watching it back and you're like, yeah, I fucking got it.
Yeah. When he goes to sleep, it makes it just all the better. And then, like even like Khabib said, he was like angry that Conor tapped. Like he wanted him to go to sleep because it's just like, I don't know, puts a feather in the cap when you just put someone out like that.
Yeah. And I remember like after the fight as well, like everyone was just like screaming and cheering for you, and it was a Swain, Swain.
All my friends.
Swain.
I bring a traveling crew.
You really do.
Yeah.
You filled up like a good half of that grandstand.
Yeah. It's only going to get bigger as well. More people coming. But yeah, a lot of the day ones, a lot of people like from my school and stuff, they've been coming from my debut.
What's like the post-fight celebration?
It was a Sunday, so I got a Hungry Jack's and then just went home. I was just in my room. Yeah, it was different. Like my debut, it was on a Saturday night, and all my mates went out. We went to like Bungalow 8 casino, just like we partied hard. But it was a bit different for my title. I just got to be like I was talking with all my family and friends after, but then they had to go home at work. So yeah, then I just got a feed. And then I got home.
Hungry Jacks.
Hungry Jacks. I don't know why I got Hungry Jacks. It was just the way.
It was just there.
Just there.
Is there like because I can imagine like there's kind of like this euphoric high, right? That you ride for a couple of days, like you wake up and next to the belt, like cuddling it, and you're carrying it around everywhere. You're brushing your teeth and you've got it on, the whole thing.
Taking it around, taking it to the club.
Yeah, of course. You have to, right?
Yeah.
But then as that kind of starts to taper off, is there a point now where you're like, oh, I'm starting to miss this? Like I kind of want to go back into the gym. I want to go back into work.
Yeah, I'm already back in the gym. This is 2 weeks post. And I got back. I had 1 week off, eating heaps of food and stuff. And then I got back in the gym because, my weight was getting a bit up there. So I love it anyway. So I was just back grappling. Yeah. And that's what I love to do. It's the lifestyle that I like.
Yeah.
So
how often do you train?
Every day.
Every day,
yeah. In camp, I'm training twice a day.
Wow.
Twice a day, yeah. So I'd go for a run in the morning or something in my garage. I got a garage with like all different like bags and speed bags and stuff. So I'll be training in the morning there, and then the night ATT, 2 hours, 3 hours at night.
Right. So this is clearly something you're highly focused on. This is clearly like a career path for you. Like there's no half-assing this.
Unbiasedly, I think I can make it 100%. Like, even if you look in the UFC, there's the 2 tallest bantamweights are 5'11". Mm-hmm. I'm 6 foot, and I feel like I got like pretty good striking and can get a lot better striking and a lot better grappling. And I just see myself in 7 years' time, like the final product, and my final product will be like in the UFC for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the confidence that you say that with. Yeah. Because it's easy for people to, kind of like we were talking about before, like how people half-assedly call people out or don't want to do it. Like it's very easy to say, yeah, one day I'm going to be a UFC fighter. Yeah. But to say that with like a sternness, a conviction, and then to execute like training every single day, having the commitment to go and turn your garage into like a mobile gym essentially where you can get extra reps in, like that is a level of commitment I don't think a lot of people understand. And I can imagine there's a lot of sacrifice on your end to get to that point.
Yeah, 100%. And like, another thing, I didn't need to do this. Like a lot of fighters, you know how you hear a lot of fighters are from like rough upbringings.
Yeah, for sure.
And like all this, like you hear so many stories like this.
Fighting their way out of poverty.
Yeah, and I'm like, I went to a private school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I grew up in like Hawkesbury, went to a private school. I go to uni, and like I didn't need to fight, but I feel like it's just like in my DNA, and I just need to do it, and I'm going to be very successful at it.
Yeah. It's an interesting it's an interesting place to be at, right?
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you don't want people to suffer, right? Like you don't want people to go through hardship. You don't want people to go without food. But there is something there when people do hit those levels of desperation and do hit that need of, fuck, I'm at rock bottom. I need to do something here. And there seems to just be a driver that overrides people's pain threshold when they are in those positions, right? Like if you really want to find out who you are, go be broke, go live on the street for a week and then find a way to make money because you're going to do it one way or another because you've surpassed like the pain threshold for yourself and you know that you need to do something.
Yeah.
So to come from a point of like almost comfort, right, where you're well educated, you come from a good family, you always have food available to you, and then to go and choose that life where you are subjecting your body to the most critical of dangers and you are constantly fighting against yourself and fighting against other people and going through crazy weight cuts and training camps and pressure and trying to juggle your own personal relationships and uni, like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like with people like that, like it's skill versus skill at the end of the day. And it doesn't matter where you come from, where you've like how you've grown up. It's just two people in the octagon or in the cage, and it's just whoever's skill's better on the night and whoever's mental capacity can get you over the line. So like
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a game of inches. It's a game of who's able to rock up on the night and perform and do the best job that they can. Yeah. And it's on top of that, it's also a lot of preparation and a lot of time. So talk me through your like process of preparation. Like 9 weeks out from the fight against Brad, what are you doing? How are you strategizing? Like I want the specifics of how you won this game of chess. Yeah.
So it was just a random training, and then Suman came to me and said, "You want to fight Brad for the title?" And it was just from that point forward, it was just in my mind for the next 9 weeks, and got straight to it. And I'm really like, I write a lot of things down as well, so I'm very like that. I just plan things out, and so I plan out weeks on weeks when I'm going to taper, and like what runs I'm going to do, and what trainings I'm going to do during the week.
Do you have anyone guiding you like through that process, like specifically with the strength and conditioning side of it?
Well, I go to uni for strength and conditioning, so I know a lot about that, a lot about the body, and so I guide through like when I'm going to do things, and then I just go to ATT every night, and then we get a good grind in. But then that's one smidgen of it, and then I'm like dieting hard, so because I've got a pretty hard weight cut for bantamweight.
How much are you cutting?
So like right now I'm like 73.
Right.
So I'm 11 kilos off bantamweight, and so like I've got to think about that, and then just week by week cutting the calories, like logging the calories, and then cutting them down so that I can be prone like to make weight.
Is that the harder part of the preparation, is being strict on the calories, or is it the physical training?
Yeah, I love the physical. I reckon it's the calories. I love eating so much. So
I tend to agree with you on that. I think it's what you do outside of the gym that really matters.
Yeah, 100%. And also, social life as well. Like for the 9 weeks, I didn't really see my friends a lot. Like I didn't go out on weekends. I was living like a monk pretty much, honestly. Yeah. So
just in a robe, you've shaved your head, meditating.
I meditate a lot as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like stoicism and meditation, and just hard training, even on weekends. Like Saturday nights, I'd go for hill sprints when everyone else is out, like partying.
Yeah.
So like it's a lot of determination and hard work to get there.
Is there like, what do you turn to when like that temptation comes into play? Because it happens to everyone, right? You know, Stephen Pressfield describes it as resistance. Like resistance is this concept of you are constantly just in a battle with yourself, and you're going to come through different degrees of resistance. So resistance might sound like physical pain, where you're doing a push-up and you feel like you're about to max out, and the resistance is your brain telling you, oh, just go back down, don't worry about it, like you're done. Or resistance might be, oh, just have that cigarette. Or resistance might be, oh, just have that piece of candy. Oh, you don't need to go for that hill run today. You know, like you did it yesterday. Why are you going again today? Go out with your friends. Like, how do you combat that resistance and maintain discipline?
It's just all about willpower. Like, you just got to be, you got to be, like, Ash said as well, you got to be sick in the head to do this. And like,
I've heard that quote like 5 times.
Yeah, like fighting as well. It's easy for me anyway. It's easy to prepare because you're gonna go in there with someone that's gonna actually like try to hurt you bad. So you have to dot your I's and cross your T's and just do everything correct the whole training camp. Otherwise, you might get that nervousness before the fight because then you haven't done anything like the stuff that you need to win the fight. That's why maybe I am not that nervous during fights as well, because I feel like I've done everything prepared and I can just let go.
Yeah, you're not worried about getting found out because you know you've done it all. I've done everything, and then now I can just give it my all in the fight, and then whatever happens, happens. You do hear though from like a lot of, especially professional fighters that do find the fame and do find the success and do find all like the next level of resistance, right? Because at this level, right, we're still talking about the amateur scene here in Australia. We're not talking about UFC title fights, right? Yeah. So the level of resistance that you're facing now is actually, in comparison, not as, you know, difficult to overcome as opposed to what the top level guys are having to battle every
like Conor McGregor.
Perfect example. Like constantly with a bottle of Proper 12, constantly.
I saw him on the casino, in the casino on the roulette table drinking Proper 12. Yeah. While Chandler's out there training. Yeah, it's like a lot of temptation for him, especially.
Yeah. I mean, he's hit this level of superstardom that I don't think any fighter in recent history has hit anyways. I mean, you could make a case for perhaps Floyd Mayweather and, you know, there's a couple of individual fighters across like the whole martial arts scene that you could say are as big as McGregor, but he really hit a frequency and a wave that hasn't been matched before. So I am sympathetic to that in the sense that this is all very bizarre. It's no one really he probably didn't even expect himself to get this big, and so every single decision, every single move he makes is going to get overanalyzed. And I think if you really break down McGregor, I think he is just this larger in life character that's really happy to be around people. He loves to talk shit, you know, and that's why we love him.
It's like 3 things for a fighter that they want from the start is to be famous, to be rich, and to be a world champion. And McGregor's done all 3 of those. Yeah. So then where does the motivation come from then? And it's got to be like the only thing, like Volk says, is legacy. That's the only thing that can really drive you then when you've just achieved it absolutely all. So, yeah, that's why people think he should retire. But, yeah, if he wants to just chase legacy, then, yeah, he's going to come back and then want to be world champion again.
And what a perfect person to contrast McGregor with, right? Like Volkanovski. He's just about the game. He just loves the game.
The legacy of it. He just wants to go through all the challenges and just be successful. Like the Islam fight for one. Yeah, like it's crazy.
Yeah, like there's so many people that wouldn't want to take that fight. Yeah, and to go up a weight class
against a big guy as well,
to challenge for the belt. I mean, that takes fucking cojones, man. That takes big balls. Yeah. And he just did it so comfortably, and everyone, like, after the fact, everyone was like super supportive of him. But I remember everyone ruled him out. Everyone said he's got no chance. I'm like, you can't.
On Sportsbet, he was like $5 or something.
I know. And I was saying to people, like, everyone that would listen, I'm like, listen, it's fucking Volkanovski you're talking about. Like, he's so focused, and he doesn't have all the excess crap going on. He just loves the fight.
He's just like a normal guy that's just the absolute gladiator of a fighter. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't get caught up on the fame or the money or anything, and just chase his legacy, like I said. And yeah, I think you'd win a rematch if they did it again.
I hope they do it. Yeah, I think it's one of the most obvious fights to make right now for the UFC.
Well, he's booked against Yair Rodriguez.
I know.
Yeah, but then after that, maybe they do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. And I'm curious to know, like, what was your first exposure to the fight game? When did you first find like the WWE or the UFC?
I was into WWE when I was a kid, but the UFC, Honestly, it was Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker at Marvel Stadium.
Interesting.
I went to watch it with my mates at the pub, and just the whole performance of that, like the dance when he came out, and then when he got to the cage, and then he got the crazy knockout, the celebration after. That just like opened my eyes to MMA, and I started pretty much like a month later.
So prior to that, had you had any kind of martial arts training or discipline?
No, so I was playing soccer before that, like at a high level.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've played rugby league, so I've played a lot of team sports.
Who'd you play for in soccer?
Soccer, I played for like Bonnyrigg.
Eagles?
Spirit, yeah, Bonnyrigg Eagles, Radomir, Hawkesbury, like a lot of clubs.
Yeah, a lot of NPL teams.
NPL clubs.
Yeah.
And I
what position were you?
Striker.
Nice.
So that's why I'm an individual.
6 foot, makes sense. Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to go to an individual sport for one, and I started training MMA when I was playing soccer. So I was training on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday soccer, and then I trained Tuesday, Thursday MMA, and it's the soccer training was just a chore, and then I just loved the MMA, and then halfway through the season I dropped it and then just did MMA full time ever since then to 2019 or start of 2020. So I've only been in this game like three years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you've got the belt to show for it in 3 years.
It's insane.
Do you feel like that initial exposure to soccer has benefited you in MMA? Because there's a level of cardio that you have to have when you play soccer that you don't really understand unless you've played it.
Yeah, Jose Aldo played soccer a lot
up
until so I feel like definitely for like playing all different team sports, your body just gets like used to moving in different ways.
Yeah,
like I played league as well. That probably helps as well because like Volks played league.
Yeah.
But but then at the end of it, I just wanted to be in like an individual sport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then it led me to MMA that night. Israel Adesanya defeated Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like with soccer, right, like it's so dependent. It doesn't look like it just from the outside, but when you play football, you understand that so much of it is dependent upon your footwork and your body positioning to receive the ball as efficiently as possible and to play it on as quickly as possible. That's essentially what you're doing, especially as a striker. You've got microseconds, so you always kind of have to be balanced. And I found that in terms of footwork and in terms of balance, it's a really beneficial...
And that's one of the good things in my MMA game, like my footwork and my distance control is like very high, and maybe that's from soccer.
Yeah.
I never know,
I remember hearing about, I believe it was Lomachenko who used to do like some kind of Ukrainian dancing or something along those lines. And his dad actually pulled him out of boxing for a couple of years and said, you're going to learn how to dance. And,
same as Adesanya. He was like a break dancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Really
that makes sense. So I could see Adesanya as a break dancer.
Yeah. It just like gets your body moving in different ways, and like MMA is all about movement.
It really is. It's a game of movement.
Yeah, it's a game of like even Conor McGregor said, he doesn't see a face. He only just sees a shadow, like a silhouette of a body. So it's just the way the body moves kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you go from here? Like, how do you level up and take on the next challenge?
Well, leveling up, just in the gym, just being in the gym, being a gym rat, as they say.
Yeah.
And just training every day, sometimes twice a day. And then in terms of next fights, then I've got to get someone to take the fight firstly. And because...
But you made a call out after your fight.
Yeah, I made a call out, Jake Piper. And he doesn't... I think his coach said to my coach, Suman, that he doesn't want it, or he's doing something else. He's got IMAF or something. And so we went to Anthony Piscalis, and Anthony Piscalis said he didn't want it. So I thought, he's injured. He's just not available at the moment. But then he came 3 days later to Suman and said that they wanted someone else, which I won't name, but on the same card. So he wants to fight someone else, but
he just doesn't want to fight you.
Doesn't want to fight for the belt. Which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, why wouldn't you want to fight for the belt? Like, it's a pretty good opportunity. But he wants to fight in the same card against someone else, not for the belt.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Is there anyone, obviously aside from Piper, is there anyone specifically that you're eyeing out? Is there anything that you're kind of gets you excited? Who gets you the most excited to fight?
I don't care. I just want to fight someone, probably on the next card. I just want to get my experience up. And anyone that takes the fight that's in like the rankings, like top 20, which makes sense. I'll take 100%. I'm not one of these guys that just like picks and chooses. Like, look at all my fights. Like, even the Percy fight was my second fight, and he was like, I don't know what record, maybe like 3-1 or something, and he just came off a crazy finish. And that was like, I was probably an underdog in that fight going into it, and then I was an underdog in Brad fight. So you can just see that I take fights. So
Do you like being the underdog?
I don't mind.
You prefer being like...
I'll start to be the favourite going forward.
I think moving forward you are the favourite.
Yeah.
Especially if people start ducking. If anyone wants that smoke right now, I mean, hey, he's calling for it. You want a title shot, he's asking for it.
Anyone, anyone, but
because you know there's going to be a lot of these guys that watch this, and there's going to be a lot of them that are kind of trying to see what your next move is, and are probably trying to line up a title shot. And
yeah, I don't think he's going to take it, Anthony Pascalis. So I'll call him out here. But he even didn't take Matty fight. He accepted and then pulled out. That's why Matty's having like a bit of a hiatus at the moment, but he's going to be back. But yeah, these guys, it can get annoying in the amateurs in Australia.
Yeah. Can we talk about how good this next Urban card is going to be?
It's going to be good.
Dude,
I'm hearing it's going to be 20 fights, maybe.
I hope so.
It's going to be a lot of fights.
The amount of people that are trying to jump on this card is like, it's wild.
Yeah. I want to get on it. But Fahud's fight with Benjamin, it's going to be really good.
Yes. Fahud Kalapba versus Benjamin Agado C will probably be... I don't want to say the biggest fight of the night, but it might be the biggest fight of the night.
Yeah, like, everyone's going to be underwhelmed though. Like, Fahud's going to finish him in the first round pretty quickly. Pretty quickly.
Official fight prediction?
Yeah, pretty quickly. I reckon 1 or 2 minutes he's going to be done.
Interesting take.
Yeah.
I mean,
he looks so weird. Like, I don't know. He's striking the other guy. What was his name? Benjamin. He was just throwing overhands and stuff. Fahud would read that and I think he would put him away. Yeah.
What do you think went wrong with the Dean fight then? Did you watch it? Did you get to see it?
Did you see the thing with the ref?
Yeah, of course. I was right there.
Yeah, so I didn't see it. I watched it back on the stream. But he stops the fight and then he gets like a elevated position like onto his back after. That's what I saw, and then he got the choke. But Dean was piecing him up on the feet, and so it's a good experience for Dean. Dean will come back and he'll be really good.
For sure.
Yeah, he'll be back.
I think it's there's a lot of controversial points there, and I've watched the tape back so many different times, and every time I watch it back I get something different from it. My instinct tells me that there were probably a couple shots to the back of the head that weren't legal.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
There were the couple that landed on the ear as well. And I think where the ref was positioned, he probably didn't have the best perspective to make that call, because Dean was almost like kind of up against the cage and eating these shots. So we're standing behind him and we can see those shots happening.
You don't stop the fight though and then go back, and then he didn't even reassess the position. He just went, go. And then he just got the...
So that's where the real controversy begins, is did Benjamin get himself into a better position after the stoppage? And that's the one that's really up for debate. Yeah. I think, it's unfortunate for Dean in particular how that fight went down. I think he would have liked to go out on his shield as opposed to having like all these question marks over it. But I have to give credit to Benjamin as well. Like, first and foremost, man has a chin. Yeah. He's got a fucking chin.
That was crazy off the ground, the kick off the ground.
Yes, Dean landed this clean up kick, caught him right on the chin. And you put anyone else, especially with Dean Troman's kicks, like anyone else in that position, they're going to sleep. They're going to sleep, they're waking up the next day.
So I think, he's going to maybe handle a few shots from Fahud, but Fahud will just get peppering him. Yeah, it's going to be insane, actually. Yeah. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a really interesting fight. And, I think Benjamin has I think he's got more of a reach and height advantage over Fahud. But, I have to be honest, I'm biased, man. Fahud's my boy, and I'm going to try and pull that away. But he's just so effective with his striking, and he's such a good
sniper,
pressure fighter, picks his shots really well, knows when to get in your face, knows when to pull away.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him.
And Benjamin won't be able to take Farhood down either. His Farhood's pretty strong in those positions, and
I don't think he'd want to take Farhood down.
yeah, well, isn't that his area like of expertise?
I think Benjamin's fairly well rounded, but
yeah.
I think I don't think it'd be a good idea to try and take Farhood down. He's dangerous.
Yeah. Also, what I was going to say. Yeah. So how I got to ATT as well. It's a funny story actually. I knew Dean because Dean played soccer as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dean was a soccer player, and I actually played with him at Hawkesbury.
Right.
And then I followed him. Obviously, I followed him on Instagram, whatever. And then I've seen like during COVID that his mate Maddie. So I followed Maddie as well, and he was
shout out Matty Ian.
And because COVID was a hard time for fighters. Like couldn't get to the gym. There was no fights going on. So Matty would do these sessions in the park with his mates, and then I'd just go. And this was on a year's training in like 2020, 2021. I'd just go and just brawl in the park with Matty and get bashed. Because Matty's a gun as well.
Yeah, he is.
And I was like pretty average back then. And then after getting bashed a few times at the park, then I came to ATT.
Right.
Once the doors opened again after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny because I probably started training around a similar time to you then. Although I think I've only been training for 2 years. I don't know. The whole COVID period of time is just a blur to me. It's like before and after COVID.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know like the timeline there, but that's damn, bro. You got a lot done in a short period of time.
I know. My debut was March, and then I got the belt 13 months later. Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the original question though. In terms of like hitting that next level.
Yeah.
And like what your plans are for the future. So obviously, you know, we need to find you an opponent. We need to find someone that's willing to fight you. But on top of that, like what did you learn from this fight with Brad, and how are you fixing up those holes in your own game now?
Yeah, I learned firstly like going through adversity. That was a massive thing. So like being back against the wall and then pulling out a victory. That's like, as Teddy Atlas said, there's a fighter's career starts when they come through adversity, like when they're actually in a proper fight and they're losing and then they have to come through to win. So that was like a big thing. And then also just like the wrestling, like I had to fill a lot of holes in my game in the wrestling. And ever since I got back from Thailand in December till the fight, I was wrestling a lot with Ash. So yeah, it was big. Even in Thailand, I was wrestling a lot with all those Russians over there. Yeah, it's insane.
Wait, you were wrestling with Russians?
Yeah. Oh, so in Thailand, you go onto the mats, and there's just 20.
Is that Tiger?
Tiger,
right?
Yeah, and there's just 20 to 30 Russians on the mats, sparring, wrestling.
Thailand is the funniest place right now, man. It is like it's an international airport there.
It's a mecca for MMA.
It really is. Yeah. It's become like this center hub for so many like amateurs, pros, and then like high level fighters. They all have kind of found a home in Tiger. So you go there, you rock up, and were you just expecting to do a couple Muay Thai classes? Like what were you planning?
No, I wanted to do everything. So
right.
Yeah, so I got there, and my first sparring day I was on my own as well, which is another thing. A lot of people go there with like training partners or something, because the sparring at Tiger Muay Thai is just full brawl.
Right.
Yeah. And so I walk in there, and there was just me, and then there was just 30 Russians just staring at me, and then they're not like welcoming at all. No. They see you as an opposition, so
they're very stoic.
Yeah, I was just in the corner, and then getting ready, and then going off just sparring all of them. And I was doing like sparring 2 or 3 rounds with this guy, and I was doing well, and then after the spar, I was talking to him, and he knew a bit of English, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Tajikistan, and I'm a 6-0 pro."
Wow!
So it's just insane, like the bodies you get there.
What was like the physical difference about like these Russian wrestlers? Because that's like what they're so known for. Yeah. Like when you think Russian MMA, you straight away think wrestling.
So like their difference is like they shoot, and then they'll keep shooting until they finally get the takedown. Like they're very persistent with it.
Right.
Yeah. So and they've got a different style as well with how they go into the grapple and then trapping wrists and stuff. But it was really like good experience going and training
like the
with them.
Dagestani handcuffs.
Yeah, and yeah, so it was really good experience with that. And then also I was trained with like Ryo Yamaguchi.
Okay.
He was like #1 fighter in Japan. So I did a bit of work with him and stuff. Yeah, it was so good. I was there for a month.
One of the really interesting things about the Russian system in terms of producing MMA fighters is they tend to have very extensive and long amateur careers.
Yeah.
They don't really... You don't see many pros being made out of like a 4-0 or 5-0 amateur record. Like a lot of these guys have 20, 30 fights before they go pro.
They have this thing called combat sambo over there.
Right.
So it's like MMA with a gi.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's where Islam and like Khabib, they had like 200 matches.
Yeah.
Of like with hands like wrapped in gloves and then just with a gi and just wrestling, boxing, I'm pretty sure. And kicking, I think. So it's pretty much like MMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that system of, that system of mixed martial arts has really kind of been brought to light now. And in my opinion, it's probably the best way to do mixed martial arts is having long, extensive amateur careers, because firstly, it's a lot lower risk, right? You're not going up against seasoned vets or seasoned pros that are fighting for their next title shot or fighting for their next opportunity to get the limelight.
Yeah.
That's what you do see in the pros. But what you see in a lot of the amateurs is this is a school. This is where you're going to learn. This is where you're going to define your craft and who you are. And, how does Jesse fight compared to Brad? And how does Brad fight compared to Farhood? And how does Farhood fight compared to whoever?
Yeah.
So it's really where you define yourself. And I think having as much time as possible in that range is bound to be beneficial.
So it's like boxers have 200. That's like 200, 100 fights, and MMA fighters don't have as much. But I think that's also because like even on urban, we're wearing 4-ounce gloves.
That's true.
No shin guards, and it's pretty much like pros without elbows.
Yeah.
So while boxing, they can fight a lot because they've got the massive gloves, the head guard. They can fight just constantly. But yeah, I think 10 to so fights would be a good amount for an amateur. See if I get that.
Is that what your plan is?
I think maybe, I don't know. It depends who wants to fight, because like there's not many people for me to fight.
If you can find 10 opponents.
Yeah, I'm already 3-0, so I'd like to get a few more, and then maybe end of 2024 or something, go pro.
Can we just take a pause on it? So how do you, like in an idealistic world, if I kind of gave you a magic wand and said, you can have all the fights you want, you can get whatever opponent you want, and then you can go pro whenever you like how would you like to see your career arc go?
For one, it's in the hands of Suman and Ash, like, because it's good to have a non-bias, like look at it and then see when to go pro, what fights to take. So it's in their hands, but I think for me, it's like defend the belt multiple times, and then go pro. Like, there's no real rush to go pro either, because I'm still fairly young. Like,
how old are you?
23.
Right.
For MMA, the prime in MMA, I'd say it would be like 31 to 33. So there's no real rush, but yeah, I'd like to get more experience, because I can just see like how the experience helped me like in the Brad fight. So I can imagine multiple other fights that would help me along the way, and then I can go pro. Maybe, if I had to guess, like end of 2024, 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So you plan on remaining as active as possible in between then?
Yeah. I want to have another... I'd like to have 3 fights this year.
Wow.
Yeah. If I can get in the July card, though. If I can get in the July card and then another 2 at the end of the year.
We could be looking at October to December, the third one. Yeah.
If not, 2 would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next year, another whole year.
And how do you approach like outside of the MMA scene? Because I often break down mixed martial arts to 2 skill sets, right? Firstly is your skill to execute, your ability to punch, your ability to slip, your ability to take down, your ability to defend. But then on top of that, you also have the ability to communicate those skills, your ability to draw attention to yourself, your ability to market yourself, and your ability to communicate with audiences. Clearly, you've got a loyal group of people that are going to support you no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Right. Clearly you can feel Whitlam Center. You can get people screaming for you. How do you maintain that and grow that presence around your name?
The side outside of fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to talk, I feel like, to be a big fighter. I feel like it's what you do inside the cage.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, it's growing the Instagram, building a brand, getting people to hear about your name. And that comes with winning. Like, if you're just losing, then, like, you're not going to have a big name at all.
Yeah, that's a given. That's the
and
technical
also,
end.
you got to just be yourself. I feel like it's too hard to be someone you're not, like, for that long of a time throughout your whole career. So you just got to be yourself. I feel like. Don't sell out.
Yeah, because there's kind of two approaches to do it. Like, have that very authentic, honest approach about who you are, what you're doing, and what you want to accomplish. Like, take an Alexander Volkanovski approach, right? He's just very down to earth and humble. But then you've also got like the Chael Sonnen approach, where you become essentially Colby as well. Like, where you essentially become a character and you become almost like a caricature of yourself.
Chael also said that it's like the stuff that he did was not really scripted. It was a lot of himself, because it's too hard to script something and then you get a question back and then you can't answer it like the way you want to. So it's still, he plays a character, but it's still a lot of himself, I feel like.
Yeah, I think only Chael Sonnen could be Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like he definitely had like some premeditated things he wanted to say.
Colby made a switch as well.
Yeah, Colby made a big switch, but he had to do it because he was essentially on a losing streak. He wasn't able to draw.
And Colby's like to be honest, like, he's very like a world-class fighter, but he's a kind of boring fighter. Same as Chael, like lay and pray kind of, and then just trying to grind you out. And the megastar is when you're such an exciting fighter like Conor, and then you got the talk as well. That's what makes like.
You've got the style
megastar.
and you've got the talk behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone who doesn't talk a lot but is just like an absolute fan favorite, like Gaethje.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to talk at all, but he's just like an insane fighter, like just always exciting fights.
Yeah. Well, because he's kind of got that style of approach where he's willing to give one to take one, or take two to give one. Like, he's very high pressure, push forward, hit you with leg kicks kind of.
My favorite personality probably that I'd try to be like is like Sean O'Malley.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, and he's bantamweight as well.
He's super kickback.
Yeah.
Super funny.
Yeah, he's a good personality and he's made himself massive as well.
Yeah, and he doesn't feel like he's sold himself off either.
Nah, he's not really playing like an act or something. Like,
no.
But he's like very eccentric and like he's got like all the pink hair and everything and just like the vibe around him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right about that. Like, it almost just feels like he's so comfortable in his own skin, like you kind of want to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Like, whether you like the way he fights or not, or whether you like the things that he says or not, you have to give him credit. Like, the guy he has pink hair and you don't even question it. You're just like, yeah, of course he's got pink hair. Makes sense.
And he's just knocking people out. It's crazy. Yeah, he's insane. I love him. Yeah, and actually, if we're talking about fighters, one of my like fighters I would like to model my game off is Zabit. Sharapov.
Interesting. Yeah. He's in the limelight a lot lately.
Zabit, he's retired now.
Oh, is he retired?
Yeah, he retired. His last fight was 2019.
I take that back.
Yeah. So he's out. He's a doctor now, actually.
I must have recently been talking about him then, because I was thinking about Zabit a couple of weeks ago.
He's the fighter that I watch the most tape on. Like, I'll watch his fights all the time.
What is it about Zabit's fights that have intrigued you so much?
So expressive and like just mixes it all together really well. Judo, wrestling, the striking, like the kickboxing, taekwondo. I feel like to be one of the best MMA fighters, like you know how people talk about GOAT lists. I feel like you just got to be well rounded. Like my list is like GSP, Jones, Demetrius Johnson. They're all like super well rounded.
Yeah.
And like those are the fighters.
Who's like, first, GSP or Jones?
GSP.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, no matter what you do, I feel like you can't just take away from GSP's like legacy. It's just insane. And even though he lost and Jones hasn't lost, he revenged those losses. Like, it's just an insane career. But yeah, Zabit, Zabit's just like a guy that I watch so much and study a lot of him.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about the scene now is that there are generations of kids coming up that UFC has already been formed and it's already been structured. Like for a lot of the greats, there was no structure to becoming a fighter. There was just a website that you would jump on and talk shit and get a fight, and then before you know it, you're on like UFC 3 or something, or you're in someone's backyard doing a
UFC's gotten so massive. Like most of my mates that are like really into it, they've only just started following since like 2021. Just COVID, like after
COVID was massive for the UFC.
Yeah, like it's been going for a while, but it's gone massive in popularity like recently.
Yeah, and I think you know, especially back in like the early 2000s, it was so much of very tribal lines we drawn. Like I'm a Muay Thai fighter.
Yeah,
I'm a kickboxer. I'm a grappler. I'm a wrestler. I'm a boxer. Like it was, the disciplines were almost kind of fractured in a way.
Yeah,
and we've had like so many generations of fighters come forward now, and it's almost like those lines are starting to be blurred. And
everyone's just an MMA fighter now.
You can't really be like a BJJ specialist if you don't have a solid wrestling foundation. You get found out very quickly.
Yeah, so like back then, like UFC 1 and stuff, it was just like who was better, like a Muay Thai fighter or a karate fighter, or a wrestler versus a boxer. That's all it was based off back then. But now today, everyone knows how to do everything pretty much, especially like with like long amateur careers and then people can watch like UFC fights and then learn a lot of techniques. Like a lot back then, they didn't know a lot of the techniques, and it wasn't like as big as it is now, not as many gyms and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's like every year the envelope gets pushed a bit further. Like, you know, a couple of years back, no one had ever pulled off a twister. And now it's happened like 3 or 4 times. And
shout out Suman.
Big shout out to Suman
pulling
Mokhtaryan.
off twister.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But now like that move's kind of been established and people are aware of it and they know it exists. And then like, especially like in BJJ, like the evolution of that move will continue and continue and continue. It's just a constant game.
There's a new one I'm looking for someone to pull off in the UFC. Have you heard of the buggy choke?
I have not.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah,
it's like,
I might pull that up. The buggy choke.
Yeah. It's when you're it's when you're in bottom side control. Okay. I actually saw a little clip from like I was obviously I've rewatched my fight with Brad a few times. I could have pulled it off actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. Obviously it's in the heat of the moment, but like he had his head in a position where I could have snatched it up. Finished it a few times in the gym.
Wait, I want to see this.
That's the next one, like the twister to be pulled off in the UFC.
I extend my arm from getting distance in his armpit. I swim my arm all the way through and turn to my side, grabbing my thigh. I call this bottom side control. So now I need to focus on getting my
It's so cool because you're in like such a bad position and you can pull a sub off from there.
I can bring my arm in and have inside control on that arm. From here, I'm going to grab my foot and I'll swim my arm all the way through and I'll grab my foot on the other side, creating a stopping mechanism. They might try to waste some energy here, so I'll just hold them. When the time is right, I'll grab a gable grip and pull everything in tighter. Once that's established, I can now get my figure 4 and finish the position. I'll just squeeze for the tap.
Wow.
That's the buggy choke.
That's so... Like, you wouldn't look at that and think that's a very effective kind of move, right? Because it's very intrinsic.
You have to be very long and you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
But it can definitely be pulled off.
Yeah, it can definitely be pulled off.
Yeah.
But wow, that is,
That's similar to Twister, like for me, like a crazy submission like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can do it pretty well. But to get in a fight, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how Suman got the Twister in the fight, honestly. Like,
well, the crazy thing about when he did...
I would never even think about doing a Twister, like in the fight. I don't know, but yeah.
The crazy thing about it was that he premeditated it.
Yeah.
Like he said that he was going to do it and then he went and pulled it off in the same fight.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like that's like the level that like he was at that time was like, I'm going to submit this opponent and not only am I going to submit him, I'm going to do it in a way that's never been done before and do it, you know, like at my will. You know, I'm going to pick the submission. I'm going to do one that's extremely difficult. And
it's like Gordon Ryan. Do you know him?
Yeah,
he's like one of the greatest jiu-jitsu guys. and he gives the commentator an envelope before the match.
Oh, I didn't know this.
He gives the commentator an envelope, and then he goes off and competes, and then submits him, and then goes, read the envelope, and then it's the submission.
It's a submission. Wow.
He actually like drew a triangle, just the shape, and then he submitted him with a triangle, and then he said open. Yeah,
I think
That's
one
crazy.
of the issues with jiu-jitsu though is that it's not getting like mass recognition because it's
a niche sport, and it's only like the people that watch jiu-jitsu do jiu-jitsu.
yeah.
So like it hasn't come to the audience of people who don't know or don't compete in jiu-jitsu themselves.
It's hard to get casuals excited about
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu because unless you really understand what's going on, then
Like especially the rule sets as well, they can be pretty boring.
yeah.
Like a lot of the Gordon Ryan matches, there are no time limit, and some of these no time limit matches go for like an hour of just like, and there's a lot of stalling in between.
Yeah.
It's not like viewer friendly.
No, and it's
But I do like ADCC, if you know what that is. That's like the kind of World Cup of Jiu-Jitsu.
that was on recently, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's every 2 years, but that's exciting because it's good.
They did it in
good rules set.
Texas, I believe.
Yeah, Texas, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there as well. Gordon Ryan won 2 gold medals in it.
Yeah.
That's exciting to watch because of the rule set, I think.
Right. So there'd have to be a time limit, I
10
imagine.
minute time limit. and
Oh,
it's just-
perfect.
and then you can't even score in the first 5 minutes, any points.
Right.
So you have to go for the submission, kind of.
Yeah, I think like for jiu-jitsu to become, its own mainstream kind of category of MMA as a spectator, because obviously there's a lot of people that participate, but to be more spectator friendly, there has to be emphasis on the submission.
Yeah.
Like the submission must be seen same as a knockout. Like every striker wants to land the knockout.
Yeah, it's
it
true.
shouldn't just be about holding position or stalling for time.
Yeah, and because it's so like intellectual, like jiu-jitsu, it's like chess. No one watches chess. Like it's not like not blood and bath. It's like it's just very like chess orientated, where it's just like move to move. People outside of jiu-jitsu that won't watch
But
it.
I don't necessarily believe that people want blood and bath either. Like I don't think
There is the casuals that just want to stand up and stand and
Yeah,
bang,
but if that's the case, then why isn't Muay Thai a lot bigger than what it is?
that's true.
Because
I
Muay
admit-
Thai is exactly that. It is
Yeah.
elbows, knees, fists, and kicks.
Yeah, and it's not big at all. I don't actually.
I mean,
know.
it's big in like the Asia regions, but aside from that, it
One
hasn't
Championship
crossed
are doing
over.
some good things though at the
Yes,
moment.
they are.
Yeah, so they have the jiu-jitsu obviously, and then the kickboxing in between, like MMA fights. That's pretty cool. And I watch a bit of One Championship as well.
Yeah, I think it would I'd much rather watch the UFC host jiu-jitsu competitions and Muay Thai competitions and those kinds of sports rather than
There's
slap
nothing like MMA
championship.
though. MMA is
No,
just
of course.
MMA is just like so unpredictable. It's so good. Like even the big boxing fight the other week, Ryan Garcia and Tank. Like it was good to watch and that, but I just feel like a big UFC fight. It's just like
Yeah, it's
got that different feel about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Actually, there was I think it was Kingpin. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The influencer boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a Kingpin boxing match, and one of the clips went viral from it because they were boxing, and one of the fighters had knocked out the other, and as the guy was
saw
going
that.
down, he continued to like hit, not really land anything, but continued to
It's like ground and pound of the
almost
guy.
like a ground and pound,
Yeah.
right? And I watched that and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But that's because like my MMA brain kind of kicked
Yeah.
in, and
the boxers were like boxing community were hating that.
they were hating on him so much. And I get it. There's a great rule set. He shouldn't have done it. It was a massive blunder on his end, and I don't think he would try and defend those actions either. But like, it didn't shock me in any way. I was like,
I
yeah,
think
that's what you're
I saw
supposed
actually
to
a
do.
clip where he's like he was not remorseful of it. It was it's actually that influencer boxing scene there. I can't get into it, but it's got its own little thing.
I think
little
it's
niche.
interesting. I think it's interesting. I think it's more emphasis, like, you know how I was talking about before about how you have to have technical skills and communication skills.
Yeah.
I think there's more emphasis on the communication skills than the technical skills.
Yeah.
That's why Jake Paul is such a big draw, because he knows how to communicate a message and is trying to catch up on the technical end.
I'm hearing a lot of things though from influencers that have stopped posting content and then they're just becoming boxers
Right.
now, which makes it like makes the niche not the same. Like if you're gonna watch boxing, you're gonna watch like the highest level,
the best boxing possible. Right?
So you got to be making content and doing the training.
Yeah.
But these guys, like, they can see the money and then they're just turning into full-time boxers as influencers, but not creating content.
Yeah, and you have to. It's such a demanding thing, though. Like, I know I'm talking to an MMA fighter about how hard making content is, but it is very time consuming. And I think the difference is once you hit those upper echelons of, you know, social clout and social influence, you have access to more resources. So you have like more ability to hire teams that will create content for you while you train. So there really is no excuse to not be creating the content whilst you're in camp or whilst you're doing the training process. I know it's probably taxing and a lot more to think about, but that's kind of what you're there for. You're there to get people excited about boxing, so you have to make content around boxing. Yeah, boxing, and also just the matchups have to be a bit of animosity, otherwise people aren't going to watch it. Yeah, so like they're not coming to watch the technique of those influencer boxing. They're coming to watch who's going to win and like the trash talk and all this. I think the only person who's really kind of been able to break themselves away from that like influencer title is Jake Paul, ironically enough. Yeah. Like he's done just enough now in boxing for people to treat him with a bit more like dignity and respect. Yeah, he's actually a pretty good boxer. He's a pretty good boxer. Yeah. He's he knocked out Tyron Woodley. I know people were saying that was like a fake or whatever. He just copped the punch. But he actually did do it. And he dropped Anderson Silva, even though he was like 50. But yeah, I think he'll beat Nate Diaz as well, to be honest. Ooh. Yeah. You think so? Yeah. He's the more like younger, athletic guy. And he's been in the boxing scene for a while. I don't know. I feel like he'll win. I'm a big Nate Diaz man. You think Nate Diaz will win? I think Nate Diaz has it. Well, KO? No, I think Nate wins by points through the distance. Ooh. I don't know. The cardio of Nate Diaz. Here's the thing about Nate Diaz. He rarely loses fights. More often than not, he just runs out of time. That's what it is. Like you see him in round 5 pacing guys up and you're like, why weren't you doing this in round 3? Yeah, I'd like to see that in MMA as well. They were talking about that. Like got a boxing and then an MMA fight. If I'm Jake Paul, I'm running from the hills. I'm not fighting Nate in the cage. Did you see Nate pull that? Fuck that. Did you see Nate pull that guillotine on the dude in the street? He's gone to jail for it though. He's either cleared or he's about to be cleared. That doesn't stick. Yeah, that doesn't stick. Well, the guy was coming up to him. They like cut the footage, like they panned it over. Then he was just in the choke. So I don't know what happened. If the guy was like, because you don't just get in a guillotine. If the guy maybe shot a takedown or was trying to attack him. If you're Nate Diaz and you've put someone in a guillotine, it's actually a pretty nice thing to do considering you're Nate Diaz. Apart from bouncing his head off the concrete. That's what I'm saying. Like, it could have been a lot worse. No, he did bounce his head. Oh, he did? Yeah, with the guillotine. He just dropped him. Okay. Maybe not so nice. He's still Nate Diaz. It was Logan Paul lookalike. What? It was a Logan Paul lookalike. Really? Yeah. Fuck. It's too much to pay attention to nowadays, man. Too much to pay attention to nowadays. But yeah, I kind of like what they're doing, and I think you will eventually see the influencer boxing scene make more of a lane into mixed martial arts. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime this year we got like a influencer MMA matchup. I don't see him doing MMA for influencer. You don't think so? Nah. None of them want a part of that. Like, it's just a whole different game. And it is a whole different game. They'll look like in boxing, like they can look kind of respectable if they've got a year's training, but like, I don't know, MMA with all the different things, like it'll make it look kind of okay. But look funny. What you've been able to pull off in 13 months. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I feel like 3 years. You mean 3.5 years? Okay, I'm saying like from your first fight to where you are now. Yeah. So like, also I feel like I'm kind of like, I feel like people are made to fight, kind of thing. It's in your DNA, and these guys are famous, and then they've just gone to it. They haven't gone to it because they actually kind of want it. And then I don't know if they're putting in the same work as me as well. But yeah, it could happen, like MMA for influencers. I think if the money's right, anything can happen. I see Jake Paul doing it. Yeah. Jake Paul will probably do it. Yeah. Ash has another saying. He's like, no one comes out of the womb knowing how to do this. Yeah. But I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I feel like the great fighters are kind of born for it. Like, you can't tell me Muhammad Ali wasn't born to be that guy. Like, I don't know. What do you think? It's a good question.
You can definitely be made to be a fighter, but to be one of the greatest, I don't know.
I think what you're asking right now is like, how definitive are our decisions? Like, are we really making our own decisions, or are we kind of just being led by a pre-selected path for ourselves? Like, you could make the case,
Like free will.
yeah. Like, you could make the case that the reason you are who you are today is because of everything that's happened around you. Every decision has kind of been made for you by the universe, by what parents you have and what country you're born in and what foods you have access to and what water you have. And, you know, you get down to the micro, you know, distinctions of everyone's life. You could say, well, if you put anyone else in your situation, then they would have gone to win the UFN belt as well. If they had lived your exact same circumstances.
Yeah.
I see that perspective, but I struggle with it a lot because one of my core beliefs is in individual freedom and the ability of people to have like a influence on their life and able to change decisions. So
you think anyone can do anything kind of thing? Like,
well, you know, it's going to be hard to find an amputee that's going to become UFC champion of the world, but
it's
I think
hard to find someone just on the street that's going to like break Usain Bolt's record.
yeah,
kind of thing.
of course. There are definitely genetic prerequisites to success, and there are definitely environmental prerequisites to success, but I don't think you can accredit, you know, the success of Nate Diaz, for example, purely down to he was born in the right place at the right time. I think Nate Diaz had to impose his will and fight resistance and fight those voices in his head that told him not to go to training, to fuck around, to play video games all night. And he had to fight those and make the right decisions to end up in the position that he's in right now.
But that wasn't in his DNA to start with. It's a tricky topic.
It is tricky.
Yeah. So I'm on the thing that it's your destiny kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So obviously you don't come out of the womb knowing how to fight. You don't know any techniques or anything, but it's kind of your mentality. And also, all my like coaches also say it's the fight game's like 80% mental, at least. So I think like what your prerequisites, your DNA makes you who you are, and I think you're like singers are born to sing. I think that the great fighters are born to fight.
See, like when you put it into something like singing, right? Like, you make sense. Like some people are just born with better voices than other people. See, can you just double check everything's still good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm paranoid about the cameras. Like singing is actually a very good example to make your case.
Singing's an art as well as MMA. MMA is an art. Art form, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. So you're definitely gonna have people that are just genetically have more flexibility or have longer limbs or
can go through adversity. Go through the fire and actually win and be champion. Yeah, I feel like definitely.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point.
Obviously, you need the right team. You need the right scenarios to happen. It's a lot of luck that goes into it as well. Yeah. But skill wins in the end and mentality.
So what do you say about like people that are able to change who they are? Like take an alcoholic who sobers up. Are they just an alcoholic who ran out of time to drink, or is that like someone who's genuinely made a change in who they are?
I think they've genuinely made a change. Yeah.
Right. So you do agree then that there is an ability for people to make instinctual changes?
Yeah, there is some type of free will, obviously, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very deep conversation, Dave.
Yeah. Well, that's what podcasts are
about.
for,
man. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to piss.
Go for it, bro.
Yeah.
Pretty good to wrap up from this point. Is there anything else on your conscience that you want to share with the world? Anything you want to say to the people who have supported you? The guys back at ATT?
Oh, the guys back at ATT. Like just such a good team, and I just love them all, and I love all my family and friends supporting me through this journey, and I won't stop till I'm right at the top. So, yeah.
Well, Jesse, again, man, congratulations on the belt. You're an excellent champion and an excellent athlete, and I've got nothing but the deepest respect for you and what you were able to accomplish in such a short period of time. I'm excited for where you're going to go, man.
Only onwards and upwards. I'm only improving like every week by week, because I'm so new in this game, and my final form of myself will definitely be in the UFC.
I'd love to see it. Guys, definitely watch this space. Jesse, what's your Instagram? Let the people know where to find you.
Jesse Swain, MMA. So JESSESWAIN MMA.
Absolutely. Guys, links will be in the bio down below. Go support Jesse. July 1st, we could be seeing him fight again. We will definitely be seeing some amazing cards on Urban 32. It's going to be a crazy event. I will be there personally. You will want to be there. I'm so excited for this card, man. I can't tell you. Like, this is, it's months away and I'm already like, you know, angsty about it.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of ATT boys on it as well. So
Yeah.
the gym's going to be like buzzing and it's going to be a good vibe in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And someone fight Jesse, please.
Oh.
Stop bitching out.
100%.
Come on.
Anthony Pascalis.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Thanks, bro.
Oh.